Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first edition of the Below Average Wild podcast, a podcast focused on all matters related to the Minnesota Wild. I'm Nick,
I'm Austin.
and welcome to the podcast. Like I said, this is our very first one. Um, it's called Below Average because, as you can see, we don't do this very often. And Wild, self-explanatory. We love the Minnesota Wild, both from Minnesota, both love the team, have loved it for I don't know, over a decade, Austin.
I Yeah, over a decade, I think. I
Yeah,
used to hate hockey.
yeah,
So yeah. But I guess you and I both from being from Hermantown, we kind of had to like hockey. So yeah,
yeah.
the Wild
I
just came and
I feel like it was ascribed, kind of built into our brains as kids. I know, growing up in Minnesota, both of us, um, we were taught to love all Minnesota sports, whether we liked it or not. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, here we are.
And here we are and we love Minnesota sports, but we also hate them at the same time because we hate losing. We want to win, which is why this first podcast is a little tough because the Wild are off to not the most ideal start, but we remain optimistic, right? Optimistic.
Optimistic, not optimistic. OPE, optimistic.
Yes.
Yeah, we try to be optimistic, even though the Wild are 0-3 to start the 2022-2023 season. All three games, by the way, lost at home, lost to the Rangers, Kings, and most recently, Colorado Avalanche. So let's just get right into it. Defense and goaltending, obviously the biggest subjects and the biggest hurt spots for us. 20
Yeah.
goals given up in 3 games. Guess what? What can we do different, Austin? You're the coach. What do we do?
Drink, cry a
Yeah.
little bit. No, honestly, it's annoying, right? It seems every year that there's something that happens that it just completely craps the bed. And last year we were great most of the season, and then we had such high hopes going to the playoffs, and then we all know how that ended with the Blues. But this year, going into to training camp, I know there is a big debacle about Talbot leaving, and we were relying on Fleury, and then we got Gustafson. But they haven't done anything. Like you said, 20 goals given up in the first 3 games. That's not acceptable. So do we do something now? Do we trade someone? I was lying in bed last night and as I wiped away my final tear, I thought, you know what, screw it. Let's just trade Dumba, get a goalie. Or like you had texted me last night, screw it. Let's just trade Kaprizov for 8 first-round picks and a firstborn. So
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like as Minnesota fans, we tend to do this a lot. It's a lot of overreaction, and I mean, on one hand, it rightly so. 0-3, such high expectations coming into the season, much like many Minnesota sports teams lately.
right.
I guess with the exception of the Vikings, who are 5-1, but people are still saying they're the worst 5-1 team of all time.
They're
So
stupid.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's also built in us as Minnesota fans. Is we it's not good that we're 0-3, but we tend to have a lot of that overreaction, and maybe it's justified because obviously we're not going to trade Kaprizov, but it's interesting. What could we get for Kaprizov?
Oh,
If not,
you're not wrong.
I'm not saying we should trade him. We should not trade him. But
Yeah, no trading. But yeah,
yeah,
I get what you're saying. But it's spooky season, right? So I kind of put it in this analogy that if you watch like Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, there's more than one movie. And historically, those horror movies tend to get worse and worse and worse. But then if you look at The Conjuring, the first one, you bring in Ed and Lorraine Warren, that, they find the problem, they fix the problem, and then everyone lives happily ever after. So maybe for the Wild, we're kind of in like a horror movie sort of thing where we've addressed we've lost 3 games. It's crap, but we've addressed the problem that it's defense and the goalie. So now are we going to do something about it to fix the problem? And then we're just going to make a run for run for the cup. So
Well, I do want to bring up because you said whether we should change something or not. I did listen to some of the post game, and Kalen Essen,
mm,
defenseman, was doing an interview with Kevin Gorg after last night's game, and one of the things that he said was, it's cliche, but we have to keep doing what we're doing. And when I heard that, I almost lost my mind because what are you saying when we you need to keep doing what you're doing? What you're doing is giving up 20 goals in 3 games.
right.
Only
It's
three players on the Wild have a positive plus or minus rating, excuse me. Boldy, Middleton, and Sam Steele. Everybody else is either at 0 or negative. So obviously something has to change. You can't keep playing your game. It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a change.
yeah, no, I get it. And yeah, it's just going back to it's so stressful, and there's always some sort of issue that happens, not just with the Wild, but with any Minnesota team. The Twins, for example, had a great start to the year, and then they decided to, 18 of the players get hurt, and then we went from first to worst pretty much. So, yeah, I remain optimistic, realizing that it's gonna be fine. And like you said earlier, it's I mean, it's freaking 3 games in, so we can't, like, we're obviously overreacting like the rest of the state of hockey is, but it's a good overreaction though, because I think it addresses the issues. And plus, I mean, the front office isn't stupid. They hear what the fans say. If we lose on Thursday to the Vancouver Hortons, um, then something will happen. Also, I'm trying to make a point this whole season for whatever team we play, I have to change their last name. So just wanted to throw that out there. That's why I said Hortons, like Timmy Hortons. And
Yeah, that makes sense. Good job. Nice. Do you have any
yeah, but
others ready?
what was that?
Do you have any others ready right now? I want to hear them.
Um, yeah, I had dang it. The LA Queens, that was
Nice.
one.
That's a good one.
And
Yeah.
then thank you. The other one I wrote down, it was like the Colorado Ice Melters or something. So
That one's a work in progress, but I can't wait to hear
yeah,
the other ones as we go along in the season.
right. No, I'll keep you posted. But okay, so what do you think we should do?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I was thinking about it's not much, but John Merrill's still injured. He's coming back.
Mm,
Still got Greenway. I know he's a winger, but obviously he's a force to be reckoned with,
yep.
especially along the boards and I mean just being a pest to people. So that obviously makes a difference, and we saw that last season. So according to Dan Bailey on Twitter, Minnesota has outshot its opponents through the first 3 games, and they're the 6th highest in shots per game, and I believe I saw they were 8th highest in goals per game. So even though we're letting in a lot of shots, we are getting a lot of those shots back and a lot of those goals back. So obviously one of the big things I think would be to not let as many shots in, and whether that be, keeping it in their defensive zone, our opponent's defensive zone a lot more, or I mean blocking a lot more shots, protecting the net with our defense. I mean, I
Right.
don't know how much I think everybody who listens to this will have already heard from Russo and all the other usual suspects that,
Mm,
defense just needs to plain be better. And
right.
I guess with Addison's point, keep doing what you're doing, I guess, sure, as long as it's like 100% ramped up from what you have been doing the first 3 games.
Right. No, that I completely agree. And it's kind of like the D3 Mighty Ducks movie where the new coach, dumps a crap ton of trash in center ice and saying like to a defensive point, clean up the trash, get it out of the front of the net. And uh yeah, that's what the Wild need to do. I mean, just get the puck out of the front. And also, you had made the comment about, that us outscoring opponents and out shooting them, but our offense is great. I mean, look at the arsenal we have. We have Kaprizov, Boldy, Zuccarello, Jost. The list goes on. I mean, we have the offense. It's just, again, the recurring theme of this first podcast is our defense lacks everything. So
I know you bring up a good point. I mean, Boldy, great start to the season. He has 2
Mhm.
goals, 3 assists. Kaprizov picking up right where he left off with 3 goals, and 2 assists. Addison,
Man.
even though he has a -5 rating, because of course he can't play any defense, he's great on the offensive side. He has 4 assists. That's close to the leaderboard in terms of points. So
Right.
if we can figure out how we can play defense while still producing that type of offense, then we can be the best team in the league, really.
No, absolutely. And it's, yeah, they'll start to see some W's rather than L's. So hopefully we start to see that coming on Thursday too. So,
So I
okay.
have a list of inanimate objects, right?
Yep.
And this is a list that I think wholeheartedly could be better in the netminder than our current Minnesota Wild goalies.
Okay.
So let me know which ones you agree with or not, and be truly serious with this. All right.
Okay. Ready? Let's
So,
go.
yep. So number one, I have a hockey stick. Not a person with a hockey stick, just a regular old hockey stick. Not even a goalie stick, a hockey stick. Just right in the middle there.
Okay. I think that'd be, I feel like that'd be better for us because the players would be so distracted by the stick that they'd be like skating, then they'd be like, like, oh, and then miss the net. So easy.
Yeah.
Hockey stick over our goalies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay. The second, this is an homage to one of your tweets earlier today, is a Funko Pop doll version, which if you've ever seen those Funko Pop dolls, they can be fairly big, but obviously not big enough to fit a whole netminder. But
Hmm.
this Funko Pop doll is a version of Greg Goldberg from the Mighty Ducks.
Mm.
So imagine, if you will, probably about 2 feet wide, maybe about a foot and 2 feet long if it's one of the bigger versions. Just
Okay.
imagine that
Right.
in that. What do you think?
Right. Yeah. No, that's another easy one. Definitely the Funko Pop Goldberg. Everyone was petrified of him. He was really the Mighty Duck of the movie series.
Heart and soul of the
Now did
team,
his
really.
he did honestly, and did his life kind of spiral afterwards? 100% did. I think he's good now though, so that's good. But
That's a
yeah,
plus, yeah.
yeah,
See,
that's
everyone
an
can
easy
come back.
one.
He had some L's, but he came back.
Yeah,
Did he
he
come
came
back?
back
I
and
actually don't know.
yeah, what was that?
Did he actually come back, or is he
He
still
did,
in
yeah.
jail?
Yeah, no, I think he just got out of his court thing with like a little certificate of sobriety. So good
That's
for
great.
him.
Good job. Good
Yeah.
for Goldberg.
So I'm rooting for Goldberg. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Funko Pop for the win. Sorry, Fleury and Gustafson, but I'm just speaking the truth. So
Okay, this next one might be a little controversial because he is a former Wild goalie, but in ghost
okay.
form. He plays for the Ottawa Senators now. It's the ghost of Cam Talbot. So in a ghost form, you can some might say that at the XL Energy Center, you can still see silhouettes of Cam going around
Heard that.
the netminders there and
Yeah.
acting like he's still saving pucks for us.
Hmm.
But mind you, it's a ghost, so it's not physical form. So any puck that goes through him, I mean, it will go
Yeah.
through him
I
because
would
he's a
say,
ghost. But he's still a goalie. It's still Cam Talbot.
yeah, but he's a ghost.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm gonna say the ghost of Cam Talbot because I'm gonna again like do my little skater motion. They're gonna be skating, and then Cam will be like, "Ooh, I'm so scary," and then they'll just like do a little brown streaker up the butt crack, and then they'll just go the other way. So easy, Cam Talbot.
perfect. I love it. So the fourth one is a brick. Not a brick wall, as some great goalies are referred to, but just one single brick. Smaller than the Funko Pop doll of Greg Goldberg, and it's just lying flat on the ice there in the middle of the goal. Can't be moved or anything, just a brick.
Yeah. Really, we have to think safety, right? Player safety. I think it's a safety hazard. Someone may trip on it, so people will want to then be away from the puck or be away from the net. they're probably shooting, center ice, blue line, which gives our defense plenty of time to set up and stop it. So, yeah, no one will be crashing the net. The brick.
Well, and I think to add to that, they'll be so scared that we just put a brick out there that I don't know if they'll want to shoot, because there could be, they
Right.
might think that there's something else there, like it's a trap, you know? If you like Indiana
A booby
Jones,
trap.
yeah, you step on, well, you've seen any Indiana Jones movies?
Right.
Step on like one of those weird cracks or like weird cement blocks, those
Yeah.
spikes, poisonous spikes will come right up for you. Why would they want to shoot when they can, when they have a chance of getting killed? I wouldn't take
Right.
a chance.
No, I wouldn't either. But on the other side of the coin, that'd be great because then we'd win every game because there'd be no other team to play because they'd all be lying down.
So, so you think, wait a minute. So you think that after the first couple of shots where people get killed by these poisonous darts that come out of the goal, not saying that there are, but there could be, that teams wouldn't think twice about shooting still? They'd still try for it?
Oh yeah, they'd easily try for it. Yeah. Yeah. Look at, I mean, Alex Ovechkin. I mean, he looks like he's 300 years old, missing half his teeth. He would go for the net. Brett Burns, he would do the same thing. He doesn't even know if he's still playing. So,
They just have, they got nothing to live for anymore. They're past their prime. They have enough money for
right.
their kids and their grandkids, and they're like, that's enough.
Right. And Yager, I hear he's coming out of retirement. He's almost 72. So he has nothing to lose. So I
That's
don't know. But
great.
I want to ask, so for you then, if there was a single strand of horsehair dangling from the cross pipe, would you take that over the goalie?
You know what? I think I would, because horsehairs are strong. They're used in the violin handles. I don't know what the correct terminology for is for that,
You
but
nailed it.
you can move those suckers pretty hard. You can move them pretty hard and they won't break. I know there's multiple horsehairs on each of those, but obviously if they're using it, it's pretty strong. So and it waves around each shot. First one gets saved, it probably moves to the next position where they're going to shoot it next. So I would take the horsehair.
I now all I can imagine is someone skating down, seeing like Lindsey Sterling just sitting on top of a goalpost, like doo, 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 doo.
All right, well, there's
All I
one
can
for you. Yeah,
picture.
do you think, would you take right now, would you take Marc-Andre Fleury or Lindsey Sterling with a violin?
She would serenade everyone to sleep. So Lindsay,
But would she serenade the Wild to sleep too, or the Wild are prone to that? They're
we're immune. Yeah, we
immune.
wouldn't.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one. Not prone to
yeah.
it.
No, we would make it through. Yeah. So
Is it because she's really good at putting people to sleep, or her music's so bad? I would like you to make a full-fledged opinion and either insult her greatly or praise her for doing so well right now.
yeah, her music reminds me of the quartet that played on the Titanic, and that one scene at the end when the ship is crashing and everyone's dying and jumping off the boat, but they're steadily playing their violins. So I think that she's a mixture of all of that put into one vessel, which is as high of a compliment as you can get. She's the Paul McCartney of
Wow,
violinist.
that's high
So
praise coming from you.
yeah, but that's what I have to say. I mean, she dances too, I think, when she is. So maybe she dances on
She
the ice. I don't know.
does she? Yeah, I will. Does she even need skates? I think I have to look this up, but I think she has like at least one music video where she's like dancing around on the ice or like on skates. So if that's true, if she does, then she could do pretty well,
Yeah.
you know?
Or maybe she's one of those people that just doesn't cut her toenails and then she just goes barefoot and she uses her toenail as the blade of a skate.
She and well, and she doesn't even need to skate around that much because she's the goalie, so she could just use the toenail, stick the toenail right in the middle of the goal, and use her violin to just block every shot. I think I think what we've come to the conclusion out of all of this list is Lindsey Sterling is the answer with a violin.
Right. So she'll put people to sleep and they'll most likely be vomit with the toenail. So,
Right. And
yep.
and if they don't fall asleep for some reason, then she'll just block the shots with the violin. Yeah,
Love it.
lightsaber style, whatever. It's
Yep.
they're probably pretty strong violins.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if they have horsehair. So
Perfect.
there it
Well,
is.
now that we've solved that, let's move on. Let's move on to something that has bothered both of us greatly. Was that in this last game against the Avalanche, Marco Rossi, healthy scratch. In the first two games, I believe he averaged around 7 minutes, like 7.5 minutes per game. And I know we have the same opinion, but I'll ask you anyways. What did you think of that move last night, and why was it complete garbage?
It's horse crap, right? He's he's our star rookie. He's like Boldy was last year. Boldy didn't, he had stretches where he sucked last year, but for Rossi, you bring this guy in and he has all the confidence in the world. He didn't have the best, the first two games, but a lot of the team didn't. So why would you punish this rookie that needs ice time? So he's literally sitting upstairs in the the suite or whatever they have, collecting dust. He's 21 years old. Put him on the ice, get him minutes, get him experience. He only played 21 shifts in the first two games. That's garbage. And they choose to sit him?
Yeah, he
No,
he was
no.
good enough to make the team, beating out all of the other players, including Mason Shaw, who
Yeah.
was the man that replaced him in the third game.
Yep.
And we lose two games, and I obviously it wasn't only his fault. And I know that Everson didn't think that it was only Rossi's fault
Right,
when
right.
making this decision. But it does, yeah, it begs the question, what went into that decision to make him a healthy scratch and bring in Shaw? Like, it's gonna make a difference between a win and a loss? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. And you want to put yourself in the mindset of Billy G. Like, what are you thinking? Because again, is that going to make the difference between the win and the loss? And also, you're over the offseason, he was talking about experience. He wants Rossi to earn his spot on the team. Well, he earned his spot on the team. The entire team hasn't played up to its potential. We've seen that with defense and goaltending. Did they sit him because he has, two PIMs? Did they sit him because he didn't have a one good shift? I mean, there's now again, this is why we're the below average podcast because
Right.
we're just super enthusiastic about the Wild, but it's also
Optimism.
optimism. But you and I have pretty good knowledge on the sport,
Yeah.
so it's where's
Below
the
average
logic?
knowledge.
What was that?
So below average knowledge is what we
Yes,
have,
that
which
is
is a
true.
lot. Some people would say that's a lot better than above average knowledge.
That's no, that's 100% true. So I don't know, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. I don't think two games is not enough to show anything. I mean, even the NFL has three preseason games to look at the rookies and decide if
Mm-hmm.
they want to make the team or not. And
Right.
I don't, maybe he just needs to be on a different line. And I will say I haven't done thorough research on what he's done during those average of 7.5 minutes of ice time. So maybe
Yeah.
he's making all the wrong moves, and like then I stand corrected. Like, someone show me that he is making all the wrong moves on the ice or just getting completely toppled out there. And to be fair, I haven't really seen him, on the puck, and we haven't really heard his name much on the broadcast in
Right.
those first two games. But I mean, if he's just average, then you have to give him at least a couple more games to give him a chance to produce or not produce. You can't. It's just not a good sample size.
Yeah, no, you're right. And what did I think you have it pulled up, but what did our Lord and Savior Michael Russo say last night? Because he I think he had Rossi trending on Twitter.
Yeah. So, okay, this is from Michael Russo last night. You can juggle lines all you want. Make BS moves like scratching Marco Rossi after 21 shifts, as you said, Austin. Scramble your D pairs. doesn't matter if you keep giving up the softest goals imaginable. So again, going back to defense and goalies, seems like that's a much bigger issue than deciding which forward to put a or to bring up one forward
Right.
just so you can make another one a healthy scratch. That just it didn't make sense at all.
No. So, with this, do you think we see Rossi on the ice against the Canucks?
I hope so. I really hope so. I think I don't know. I don't know what Mason Shaw did during those two games. Did he either he got 3 hat tricks and I don't even know if I was playing right now. Are they playing right now?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
whatever. So if he somehow got 3 or 4 hat tricks in Iowa, or he bribed Billy and Evison with more money than they can imagine, or he's holding Dean Evison's family hostage. Those are the only 3 options
Mhm.
that I see why Shaw would have been brought up.
Yeah. I think he's a farmer too. So maybe he offered them like a year supply of corn or something.
I mean that's a good point. 3 chickens, 2 goats with inflation. That's a lot. That's a lot nowadays.
Yeah. And one sacrifice of your choice.
They they have
Cut,
a
cut the lamb.
you just see Billy G and Dean just having steak dinners for the next year. They're like, oh, you're having steak again. You're like, yeah, I recently came into a lot of meat lately.
Yeah, don't ask about it.
Yeah.
Keep your thoughts to yourself.
So what about you? Do you think Rossi goes in on Thursday or no?
I think they'd make the biggest mistake of their lives if they didn't. Because if they don't and they play Shaw again, send Rossi down. Because again, he's just collecting dust. He's not getting any experience being off the ice. So we know how he can play. So why not play him? So
That brings up a good point, is that I forget who brought this up on Twitter, but I saw a post where it said, since our goaltending is so bad, I think it was along the lines of, for the love of God, no matter how bad the goaltending gets, don't bring up Wallstead. And
yeah,
I tend to agree with him because of player development. I mean, if
yeah.
you're gonna have Marco Rossi as a healthy scratch, you might as well send him down. But
Hmm.
I also agree, if our goaltending continues the way that it is, it's not going to do anything for Wallstead's confidence or his player development just to bring him up to possibly the worst defense that the NHL has ever seen.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's yeah. So I guess we'll see. I'm gonna stick with it that it'll be the biggest mistake of their lives if they don't play him. Um, because I think too that just destroys a player's mentality. Rossi had that huge health scare a couple years ago due to COVID, and then he was in he was in Iowa all last year, and then he finally makes the team this year, only to be benched the third game for whatever hell reason they decided to do, and then that takes a toll on a player's mentality. So I be interesting to see how he's feeling, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with yeah, if they don't play him, the biggest mistake of their lives. So I think we'll see him on the ice.
So speaking of whether Rossi is going to be in the lineup or not next game, let's talk about the next game. Thursday
Yeah.
night, again at home before they go on the road against a possibly another winless team. So we're taping this as the Vancouver Canucks are playing. We played them Thursday, as you mentioned, while they're 0-3. Canucks could be either 0-4, 1-3, or they could lose in a shootout to be 0-3-1. So first of all, who do you think starts in net for that game on Thursday?
Yeah, no doubt Marc-Andre Fleury is going to get the nod for the Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, the future Hall of Famer needs a team that he can go in and absolutely spank. So this is the team that he's going to do it with. I think this is a game where we're going to get our momentum back. Fleury needs a win. I think don't quote me on this, but I think he's one shutout away from some record. So that'll be big. Shut up.
What?
Please record this. No, he needs a team that he can go in and spank and just roll over, and I think we're gonna see vintage Fleury on Thursday. But what do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, if our goaltending can't get any worse, Fleury, as you said, future Hall of Famer, just give him the net.
Yeah.
It can't get literally cannot get any worse than it has. And just give Fleury a chance to get back on his game. Couple bad games again with the sample size, if it takes him maybe a couple games, although it shouldn't for Fleury being a Hall of Famer as he is, but at the same time, maybe he's older, past his prime. He's a couple
Mhm.
games to get warmed up. And I agree with you. I think he'll find his stride, and this is just the game to do it.
Yeah.
So
So
beyond that, so Fleury's starting. Who do you think wins and by what score?
yeah, I'm optimistic. Wild are gonna they need to win. This is a game they win. They're gonna win 4-1. Uh haven't seen the lines obviously, so I'm not gonna put any score predictions out for who scores, but I'm definitely going 4-1 Wild. It yeah, this is the game that we're gonna win. The XL is gonna be rocking. The fans are sick of it, so
So can I ask, 20 goals in the first 3 games, and you're only predicting that Vancouver gets 1 goal?
mhm.
That is
Yeah,
very
so
optimistic, and I love it. But where's your reasoning behind that, if you have any, or if it's just
yeah.
complete and blind optimism,
Optimism.
optimism, which I
Yeah,
completely agree
so
with.
it's it's I got it because the Wild for the first time in 3 years due to COVID brought back their skate a community event where the players went out or not skate
Bowling,
bowl
just
yeah
bowling.
yeah yeah bowling event with the fans, and Fleury was quoted by saying, the team was the fans were pumping him up, he felt horrible, he's embarrassed, yada yada. And I think Fleury needs to understand that he's not in his prime anymore. I mean, he's not. He's not the Mark Fleury the first year with the Golden Knights. He's not the Mark Fleury that we saw all those years in Pittsburgh. He's the Mark Fleury of now, and I think he just wants to prove a point to the league that he still has that skill set. So I think the fans again, XL is going to be rocking. They're going to be behind him, every step of the way. So 4-1, sticking to it. That's the facts. Suck it.
You
What
know,
about you?
I'll go along with the optimism that you have with Vancouver not really scoring much. I'll give them 1 more goal. But I also agree that the Wild get their stride back a little bit here. Defense will finally click, I believe. Optimism, I believe. Optimism. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. Defense gets their stride back, and Wild continue their hot streak of getting shots on net, and they will win 5-2 over the Canucks.
Love it. 5-2. I'm gonna write that down. So then we can call each other
Yep.
Thursday. 5-2, you said, and then I said 4-1. Perfect. It is now set in stone. I can never throw away this piece of paper. Set.
Put it
It's
in the
gonna be
goblet of
fun.
fire.
What was that?
It said, put it in the goblet of fire.
Yeah. It won't burn.
Yeah, that'll do it for us. If you don't follow us, if you're watching this, and if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, by the way. It's a weird
Yeah.
road that we went down, but it's also our first podcast, again, called the Below Average Wild Podcast, Below Average. So we
Yes.
better get
Wait, did you say the title of our podcast?
at the
Below average?
Oh, no, 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 I don't think I did.
Oh,
This is called the Below Average Wild Podcast.
got it.
So
Okay.
I think we need unlimited amount of slack. So if we said anything wrong, or if we, make any mistakes or have any outtakes that make it into edits, don't blame us.
Yeah. And
It's called
if
below average. What do you expect?
yeah, if you get mad at us, well then we'll never talk to you. Granted, we probably never have talked to you,
Yeah.
but it'll hurt our feelings if you do because we're human and we have feelings. So
But if you did like this and you like us and you don't hate us, then we love you and we hope you'll follow us on Twitter at NickLens22.
I think mine's at Austin_L.
Hold
I
on.
think.
You don't even know your own Twitter handle?
No,
Okay.
did you put
I'm
it in the
at
notes?
NickLens22. He's at Austin_L.
There it
We have
is.
another podcast coming out next week. We don't know when. It'll be out sometime. But we hope
Yeah.
you enjoyed it. Again, if you made it this far, thanks. And
Yes.
go wild.
Cheers. Cheers to the Wild, and we'll see y'all soon. Boom.